As you might have noted, we're starting an election debate series, and we are very excited about this because we want to encourage all of us as Zimbabweans, especially those over the age of 18 who are eligible to vote, to get excited about the elections, to participate, to get involved, and to register. So we are beginning this series tonight on the 14th of September, synonymously with the time that we have launched officially.
Oh yeah, that's out.
Ruvheneko Online, a very big welcome to you and back to the season. We had taken a break because we were preparing for this election debate series which we embark on today. And at the same time, as a country, we have officially launched the biometric voter registration system, which was launched by our President, His Excellency President Robert Mugabe, just this morning. So the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has announced that registration is officially beginning. And in this series, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be discussing the election process. Now, it's important that as Zimbabweans, we know that elections are more than just going to register and showing up on the day of voting. Elections are an entire process. And through this journey, I want to pay tribute now to our main partner, the ERC, the Election Resource Center, who's going to take us over the next couple of months until we have elections. Through these discussions, we're going to travel all over the country. We're going to make sure that we engage you as citizens, those of you locally and in the diaspora, so that together we can get excited and basically understand a lot more about our election process. There's so many questions, and this today is the beginning of it. So I'd like to welcome our panel and our live audience, and of course you. So our live audience is here, and they're going to be engaging in our conversation, but so are you. So send your questions and your comments on the platform that you're using. That's YouTube, that's Facebook, and that's our website, ruvheneko.com. So let's get those comments coming in. And I'd like to introduce our panel now. We have from the MDC-T, we have Honorable Obert Gutu, who is here as the spokesperson of the MDC-T. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Ruvheneko. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Zimbabwe.
And then we also have Honorable Themba Mliswa. He is joining us as an independent, but he's also the founder of YARD. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the young people out there.
And I'd also like to introduce representing ZanuPF is Dr. Abisha Ushewokunze, who is the provincial spokesperson for ZanuPF. Welcome.
Thank you, Ruvheneko, and thank you, Zimbabwe.
Great, so let's get right into this. And we have, as I said, launched the biometric voter registration system. So here's a video I'm going to draw your attention to. We went to the State House this morning to witness this auspicious occasion where the President, as the first citizen to register as a now registered citizen in Zimbabwe, because everybody, remember, is not registered at the moment. This biometric voter registration is not for selected few, it is for everybody. So please just watch and see what happened this morning.
Registration exercise this afternoon. With these few remarks, Your Excellency, I now humbly call upon you, Your Excellency, sir, to address us.
Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission for continuously spearheading research and development in the electoral field in Zimbabwe, as evidenced by the introduction of the biometric.
We in ZEC believe that today is indeed a historic moment for all Zimbabweans as our country takes a stride towards embracing technology and innovation in electoral processes. We are gathered here today to witness the launch of the biometric voter registration in Zimbabwe. In pursuit of this new innovation, the country will soon be embarking on a fresh voter registration exercise. and all Zimbabweans aged 18 and above are expected to come forward and register afresh. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, while voter registration is going to commence today with the registration of the first citizen and the other dignitaries that we have invited, voter registration will commence at all ZEC district offices from Monday, the 18th of September 2017. And I need not to remind the audience that we have 63 districts in Zimbabwe.
ZEC is starting the new biometric voter registration exercise, which will lead to the creation of a new voters roll, as already stated. In light of the above, ZEC is therefore requesting you, Your Excellency, to officially launch biometric voter registration exercise this afternoon. With these few remarks, Your Excellency, I now humbly call upon you, Your Excellency, sir, to address us.
Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission for continuously spearheading research and development in the electoral field in Zimbabwe, as evidenced by the introduction of the biometric voter registration. As government, we stand guided by our Constitution and set on how elections are to be run in this country. The Constitution of Zimbabwe enjoins government to play a facilitating role in terms of resourcing and protecting the independence, impartiality, and integrity of such institutions. The biometric voter registration exercise is a new registration for all citizens who are 18 years and above. I therefore urge all eligible Zimbabweans to go to their established centers to register in their numbers. Well, with these few remarks, I wish to declare the biometric voter registration in Zimbabwe officially launched.
So we are at the State House in Harare, and inside we just witnessed His Excellency, the President of Zimbabwe, being the first citizen to register the biometric voter registration. And he is now officially registered as a citizen to vote in next year's harmonized elections. And also we witnessed the two vice presidents and their spouses, as well as our First Lady also registering to vote rather. So as you can hear, you've got some of the comrades and journalists around coming outside now, members of ZEC, invited guests. This was a closed door event that was only open to those that received invitations. Obviously people that have been key in this process and those that are going to have been invited by the President to register on this very day. Now interestingly enough, the chairperson of ZEC, Justice Rita Makarau, at some point appealed to the government ministers present to go and register in their constituencies to encourage their constituents to vote, that it would be good in the spirit of biometric voter registration to go there. However, His Excellency overrode that and said, well, I invited these ministers that are here today, and because they've come on my invitation today, allow those that are here to register today, and then we'll continue that spirit of going out into constituencies. They can still be present and show their constituents that, look, it is possible to register and this is what the process is. We also learned that the process can take up to 10 minutes per individual. For the first citizen, it took just over 10 minutes, but of course it was the first time that this kit was being officially used, and I think anybody would be nervous when you're registering the President. So we definitely have a lot going on. So we're going to try and capture a few interviews with a few of the delegates here, and we'll bring you more in studio. And as I said, we're now celebrating the successful launch of the biometric voter registration system. I'm standing here with two top and very senior government officials. We've got Honorable Sidney Sekaramai. How are you, sir?
Fine, how are you?
I'm very well. Congratulations on this launch.
It's very welcome. Yeah. People were expecting it, people were anxious, and it's very good that His Excellency has launched the BVR. Yes. And
Honorable Simon Kayamoyo, welcome.
Thank you very much.
So are you going to register in your constituency, or are you going to register here today?
No, not here. You are going to my constituency. Yes.
That's the right thing to do.
Oh,
that's good. And how long do you think it's really going to take? I noted it took just over 10 minutes for our first citizen, for HE. How long do you think this is going to take realistically?
I think it will take about that time. The people who are operating the machines are now getting used to it, and they will be able to maintain that time. Yeah. And
are you going to encourage also your family to go and register in the constituency, or you don't mind?
Everybody above 18, when there is a member of the party, if he's not yet a member of the party, must join today. And want everybody to register.
Now, in terms of registration and voting, are you going to register in your constituencies and also vote there? And do you encourage the same for your own wives and children, or you don't mind where they vote?
Exactly, we will register in the constituency, encourage the population to register. The whole family should also be there. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
What he said, in solidarity. Well, there you have it. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and all the very best for this. Success. All right. Welcome back to Ruvheneko Online. So there are some highlights from this morning at the State House, as we said. Very interesting events happening there. As you might have noted in the video, the President was complaining about the size of the card, the card that you receive once you register, saying, but I think everybody obviously would take very good care of it. And now we begin our discussion, and I'd like to start by asking the MDC-T. We had a conversation earlier with Honorable Douglas Monzora, quite an extended conversation that I had with him, which we'll post later, where he was talking about, obviously, the situation where the MDC-T has taken this issue to court, and they are not happy with where we are right now with the BVR. We spoke a few months ago, we had a panel, and there was lots of conversation around how the BVR is being executed. If you don't mind bringing to light, Honorable Gutu, some of these issues, so we can know what your issue is.
The main issue really, Ruvheneko, is to do with the state of unpreparedness. I will call it the state of unpreparedness. Distinctly so, because we are convinced that the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, as the constitutional body mandated to run everything to do with elections in the Republic of Zimbabwe, is not entirely ready to roll out the biometric voter registration exercise. Why do we say so? When you look at it, just a few days ago, we were advised, I mean the nation of Zimbabwe was advised by an official announcement from the ZAC that 400 kids had arrived in the country, and these kids were specifically termed test kits, specifically termed test kits, and that they needed no less than 2,500 BVR kits to roll out the BVR system, or the biometric voter registration system or exercise. And as you know, the kits are just exactly what they are. They are the kits. I'm not a computer guru myself, but the little that I know about computers is that the BVR system, according to my research, obviously has to go with what are called servers, or the central computer system, the hardware and the software. Right now, there's a lot of vagueness. If you ask me, where are the servers? Who supply the servers? Where and when? I don't know. And I'm not too sure whether anyone here, whether Honorable Mliswa here or Dr. Ushewokunze here knows, or even yourself, whether you know. And we are saying, it's like you walk into a shop.
Why is that an issue?
It's an issue because we want to know who supplies the servers, because it's critical.
There not an open tender for these?
There was really no open tender about the servers. There's a lot of ambiguity regarding the servers. Let's look at the servers as distinctly different from the kits.
Okay.
The servers, I don't really know, even me, up to now, I don't know who supplied the servers and when they were supplied. And if at all we are using the servers, at one time we were told that we're going to use the servers that were used by COPAC, the constitution-making body. And then there was a denial of that statement by ZAC. And ZAC did not come out very clear as regards who is supplying the server. And we are saying, with that lack of clarity, already the whole system is thrown into, with respect, let me use the word disrepute. You are talking of a system that should actually have a buy-in from all the stakeholders, not only us, the political parties, but also ordinary Zimbabweans, people who are going to register to vote as Zimbabwean citizens.
So to be clear, I know there's a number of points that
Yes.
you've taken this issue to court with,
Yes.
but just on that one, I want to come to Dr. Ushewokunze here. There is a strong sense that there is ambiguity on the process in which these kits were procured.
Precisely.
And is this an issue, number one? And number two, do you have the answers to his questions?
Well, ambiguity is a very strong term in terms of definition. But he's a Zimbabwean, I'm a Zimbabwean, so is everybody else here. We all have a say with regards the process of the biometric system. Where he pointed out the gray areas with regards the purchase of the servers, the purchase of the biometric kits that he's referring to as not sure where the servers were sourced from. There was really an open tendering system, which at some stage the MDC-T leader, Mugabe queried, and he put it across to a stage where he actually went as far as saying he's not comfortable with anything coming from the East, any Chinese product, because the Chinese work with one certain party, which is ZanuPF. And later on, he made a U-turn and he said everything's above board, and he was happy that the system is also being supported by the United Nations and all other parties that are supporting this particular process. So I'm not really sure whether the issue of servers is an issue or it's an issue of transparency with regards how the process will be conducted and how everybody else will be afforded the chance and opportunity to have a say or to register as a voter.
Sure. Honorable Mliswa, at this point, as an independent, does it matter at this stage where things came from? Is it a bit too late in the game to try and make noise about it when we've launched the registration process? What's your position and assessment of the BVR process as we stand today?
First of all, Zimbabweans, I think we have our own democratic right to challenge any system. I think the elections have been marred with a lot of controversy.
True.
As such, it's only proper whoever feels they should take it up to the court, to take up to the court so that the whole exercise is verified, so that there are no issues after the election. So MDC are well within their rights to do that, but at the same time, I'm hoping that they are equally encouraging their people to also register. We tend to the system from the opposition which complains and does not act. But if they're acting and equally complaining, I think it makes sense.
True.
And I think for me, what is critical at the end of the day is for ZAC to be able to be seen, to be very transparent, to also account to the electorate at the end of the day. As Yard Youth advocacy for reform and democracy. We've got young people coming through who are pushing to vote. It's the first time they're doing it, and as a result, it must be something that they look forward to without any controversy. So it will clear the air, as to speak, in terms of having credibility, a free, fair, and credible election.
Now, there was a $17 million budget that was put together toward this BVR process. That is not small money. And I know, Mr. Gutu, you spoke earlier about the readiness of ZEC to conduct these elections. Dr. Ushewokunze, do you feel that, number one, ZEC is ready, and number two, the Registrar's Office is ready, and number three, that Zimbabwe is ready?
Well, ZEC is an independent body. It's not affiliated with any political party. They represent government or a government institution. And if they say they are ready, if they request a certain budget, which they did pre and post this stage of launching the actual biometric voter system, it's my belief that ZEC has a constitution also. Whatever they do is within the confines of the Zimbabwe constitution. They cannot go beyond what was reached about as a Zimbabwe constitution. So whatever they do or their conduct is within their purview of what ZEC stands for. I still want to believe if they say they're ready, they would have done their due diligence, or they would have done their whatever plans and post and any other mitigation in case, and also any other unforeseen incidences that may occur. I would want to believe they would not want to make public pronouncements without having been ready themselves.
Yes, I heard what Dr. Ushewokunze was saying, but you remember that ZEC only started saying they were ready after the presidential proclamation that was gazetted a few days ago. The gazetting 14 September 2017 up to 15 January 2018 is the period within which the BVR exercise was going to run. All along ZEC was, I would call it, it was blowing hot and cold, approbating and reprobating. They were ducking and diving. So they were very, very spectacularly very vague regarding their state of preparedness or lack of it. So at the end of the day, when the government gazette was gazetted, when the proclamation, the presidential proclamation was done by President Mugabe, all of a sudden, it's like they woke up from their deep slumber, and then they started saying, oh, we are ready. But at the same time, they're saying, we just have 400 test kits. I'll go back to what I said earlier on, test kits. And they said we are waiting for the remainder of the kits that, if I remember carefully, which I normally do, because I read about these things every day of my life, they said they are only going to be starting to arrive in Zimbabwe, in the country, sometime next month, sometime in October. Right. They were not even specific as regards what date. I believe at this stage we should actually, get the nuts and bolts, what's and all.
That perhaps the justice
no, I still have the floor, Ruvheneko. No. No. I still have the floor. No. No, Ruvheneko. No. I still have the floor. I'm happy. No.
Today on the 14th, starting on Monday.
No, I can see your concerns, but with due respect.
Clarity-seeking question.
I'm not attacking the integrity of the judge. I mean, at all. I'm not attacking Justice Makarau's integrity as the ZEC chairperson or as a judge of the Supreme Court. No. All I'm saying is I'm looking at ZEC and commenting institutionally to say here is a constitutional body. It's a Chapter 5 institution in terms of the Constitution, supposedly independent. Here is a Chapter 5 institution that is just saying we are going to receive the remaining kits in October. They are not even specific as regards what date in October. All along they are saying we have 400 kits. Now that a proclamation has been done by the president, by way of that extraordinary government gazette, they now wake up from their deep slumber and say, we are ready. So that's why I'm saying they are ducking and diving, blowing hot and cold, approbating and reprobating. They are not being entirely honest with us as Zimbabweans. So I'm saying, at the same time, encouraging Zimbabweans, including our supporters, who are in the majority in this country anyway, MDC supporters, to come out in their millions and to come out and go and register to vote. But
so
be that as it may.
How do your actions, I'm going to interject because it is quite extended what you're saying, so I need to come in at specific points. But what you have just said about you want to encourage the Zimbabweans to register, your actions then to taking a case to court and instilling doubt in your followers, for example, as you said, Is that the
No,
right
no,
way
no,
to
no, 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 no.
encourage
No.
Zimbabweans to come on board?
No,
this
in
process?
fact, let me revisit what Honorable Mliswa here said. He said something very poignant, very correct, very apt. To say, look, the fact that we are taking the matter to court does not necessarily mean that we should then discourage our supporters in particular, and Zimbabweans in general, from registering. All we are saying is we demand of ZEC utmost 100% accountability and transparency. It is within our constitutional right to do that. This is exactly what we are doing. So all we are saying is we cannot say and claim that everything is all right when it is not. But at the same time, we are saying to our supporters, we are saying to Zimbabweans, this is what ZEC has done. Go out there and register. We know they have a few kits, just 400, which is just a minute quantity. They are not even going to be enough to run a countrywide registration system. But we are saying wherever is going to start, go there and register to vote. At the same time, we are pursuing this legal action because we want the matter clarified. But the good thing about the legal action is there might actually be a need to extend the period, because the period is supposed to end 15 January 2018. And we are saying, at the end of the day, we just have 400 kids. 4 out of 2,500.
So far,
it's not even a quarter.
Right? Yes, but
Yes.
so far those are the ones, but there's a plan to have the rest of them.
Yeah, but the plan, Ruvheneko, is very vague. I'm sure, look, ZEC being ZEC, and when you look at what I would call, good corporate governance, international best practice, what happens in other countries, what happens in South Africa, what happens in Namibia, what happens in Botswana, what happens in Zambia. I'm talking of these countries because we are within SADC. We are a member state of SADC. What they normally would have done, and these are countries that have done the biometric system before. What they normally do is they wait until everything is in place. You don't do it in dribs and drabs, in fits and starts. You wait, put your egg together, and you say, guys, let's move on. Right now what ZEC are doing, they're doing in bits and pieces. They're not even clear as to when the other kids are arriving. And we are saying, suppose they don't come in October, what will happen?
Honorable Mliswa, what are your thoughts on this regarding readiness and preparedness? And what message, especially yourself as political leaders, would send to your constituents?
I think first of all, I want to go back to a continuous voter registration which was supposed to be embarked on by ZEC before the BVR. That is critical. Time has been lost. So that was supposed to be continuous. So that time that has been lost, how do you compensate for it? Because you cannot have an election and either you actually prolong the election to compensate for the time which there was supposed to be continuous voter registration.
Well, the election date hasn't yet been set, so...
No, but in terms of the Act, the voter registration is continuous.
I believe Justice Makarao spoke to that this morning. She said that the election, the BVR process will end on the 15th of January, in quotations, and the nomination call process will happen. Thereafter, it'll resume again and be continuous.
You see, what we've got to understand is the time frame. You've got to understand, the less time you have, it favors the governing party, and it disadvantages the smaller parties and those who are in. This is very tactical at the end of the day. The question that I would ask ZEC and Rita Makarao is, in terms of the constitution of the Act, when was the BVR supposed to happen? Because you don't want to have a blitz. A blitz is not sure. And where I come in to support Honorable Obert Gutu is the aspect of these are testing kits. Okay? It's not a complete kit. I'm a farmer. You cannot be given diesel and not be given fertilizer. You've got to be given a total package. Yeah, okay, and this is where we are getting it wrong. That we are saying we're prepared, but we don't have the necessary tools to go to the field. So quite clearly, ZEC has exposed itself in that they're saying we have this, but we don't have that. And this is where now the sort of speculation or suspicion comes in from the electorate, saying, so these are the things that are coming in. Where are they coming from? The question is that you've got the money. Let's not go for an election if we don't have money, first of all. We must have the money. We must equally have all the equipment required so that when we start, we continue, it is continuous until people say it's enough and so forth. So there is a point in that, with the credibility that is required to run a free, fair and credible election, ZEC is once again seen wanting, and this is where the impartiality has got to come in. While it's an independent body, equally appointed by the president, who is also from the ruling party, which is the governing party, You then say to yourself, how independent are they? Are they trying to appease the thing president? Because people usually appointed seem to want to patronize and appease the president. So we are not about that. Independence means even telling the president, we are not ready, the money is not there, can we even extend the election, postpone the elections until our house is in order. This is a clear indication that ZEC's house is not in order until we've got the diesel as a farmer, the compound D, the seed, the AN, can we then go to the field?
Precisely.
It seems this side of the House is in
it's talking a lot of sense
around the readiness of ZEC, and we'd like to know from you who's watching, what are your thoughts on this as a citizen who is hopefully ready to register and hopefully ready to participate in the whole electoral process? What are your thoughts on the readiness of ZEC? Do you think they're ready? Have they instilled enough confidence in you? And are the arguments raised tonight something that you understand and support? And if not, what is your counter-argument? We're going to come to some comments that have come through on Facebook here. Praise T. Gadzikwa says, Obert Gutu is confident. Then another comment, Eugene Gwenya says, the process of registration MDC concerns are not mutually exclusive. I want to come to you here, Dr. Ushewokunze. There was a comment thrown in there by Honorable Mliswa around the appeasement of ZanuPF by ZEC. What do you say about that and the affiliation that is constantly thrown around, that there is a link between the way ZEC runs and that of the ruling party?
Well, that's an intuition, that's a perception of the truth. You see, we also don't want to suffer hyperskeletal paralysis. We don't want to self-destruct at our own expense. Because we are purely Zimbabweans. At this stage, who do we want to take a lead in this particular process that is underway? ZEC cannot have allegiance to the appointing authority because ZEC remains an independent body. It's the same way we have a High Court, we have a Supreme Court, Constitutional Court. Any political party has no say in the outcome of what happens in those particular institutions. But at this stage, what is it that we are fighting? Or can we say ZEC can expose itself? After exposing itself, fully knowing the repercussions and the detriments that it will lead to, some of probably irreparable, they would not want to portray themselves or put themselves across as people who would then be responsible for the distortions or the discord from the general public and the citizens. So I don't want to believe that ZEC has any allegiance to anybody. It's an independent body with its own terms of reference and it's a constitutional way of governance. The main issue here should be how best can we focus on a speedy process or in terms of registration. ZEC made some pronouncements on the number of centers, on the number. They gave us some schedules on all the particular polling stations and where the people will be doing the voter registration. I would want to believe that those numbers they put across were just thrown in the public domain without proper analysis of what they were throwing in the public.
So your confidence is in ZEC. You believe that they're ready and that they wouldn't talk about things that they're not sure about?
So far, for example, like Honorable Gutu has mentioned about the 400 voter registration kits, which he refers to as test kits. You can import this particular video camera as a test kit after producing whatever the intended goal. You can still continue to use it for the same process. It doesn't necessarily have to be continuously referred to as a test kit. You can still go on to use it anyway.
Let me get a response there, Honorable Mliswa, and then we're coming to the audience.
Let's be very clear. When you say a test kit, it's a test kit.
Absolutely.
If it's a test car, it's a test car. You are testing whether it's a good car and what's been made for is right. Then you take it onto the road. Exactly. No wonder why Toyota or any car manufacturing pull out certain cars because they're not ready. They even do that, they even lose money. So how do we know? So why do you want to use the test kit to be the real kit? So we've got to understand that. That's the reason why it's called the test kit.
If I may interject, I didn't cement that.
So
with your permission?
Let him finish his point.
So for me, it is pretty important we more or less understand that. Why do we have test kits? What for? To do what? And then after the test kit, what happens? It's a process that we've got to understand. And true, ZEC is an independent body from a constitutional point of view. But true, the governing party is ZanuPF. Because if I believe that, the president was equally independent in choosing ministers, I'm sure you would have other ministers from other parties and so forth. It is a general rule that the governing party will put people in power, those who support it, even in America, even in South Africa. So it would be really sad for Dr. Ushewokunze to say that the president does not favor those who believe in the ruling party and the ideology of the ruling party. I think that's a bit shallow. I think we must accept that the people chosen must be independent according to the constitution. ZEC is reactionary. Whatever they are doing is reactionary. There's nothing that they are doing. In terms, whenever you say something, they are quick to this. No wonder why even you follow Rita Makarao. She's meeting people every day. Whenever makes noise, even yard, if we raise more, she wants to meet us. We cannot have a system of an electoral body which is reactionary.
So you're insinuating they don't have a plan?
No, they don't. They're reactionary, and we cannot have an electoral commission which is reactionary.
Could I come in there? Just to buttress. But I think it's important that I come in at this stage. Just to buttress what Obert Mliswa is saying.
If the permission of that, who has put on
Dr. Ushewokunze, let us bite of the cherry for now. I'll be very short.
Okay.
Honorable Mliswa here is raising some very salient points to say, look, when you are saying you want to roll out a BVR system, you have to be ready for it. I'm happy he's talking of his own example as a farmer, to say if he's going to the fields, he must have his tractors, his combine harvesters, his mbeu, his fertilizer.
Agreed.
All the ducks in a row. And then, now you can't say we have test kits and there are only 400. You have announced to the nation, like I previously said, that we need 2,500.
Okay, I'm going to stop
and you then say
we
are ready. They are decidedly unready.
You had made that point, Honorable Mliswa.
But it's very important.
And you're making it again.
So
I'm going to have to stop you there. Do you want to respond or can we go to the audience?
Let me just respond quickly. Initially, the biometric system was the MDC-T. You fought for the introduction of the biometric system. When it was then put on paper and the introduction of it, it was welcome until a certain stage where the supplier of the one that won the tender, the two countries, became an issue. But I'm saying at this stage, Honorable Mliswa can say ZEC is reactionary and any other government institution has to appease the president because he belongs to a certain party. This is one of the reasons why there's a ruling party. You cannot have every single party having the ultimate say in certain areas.
Thank you for being admitted. Thank you
no,
for admitting precisely.
No,
thank you.
No, not. I'm saying the reason why we have a ruling party. Hear me out. The reason why you have a ruling party, then you'll have one president. That particular president there's powers in the constitution which says the president has the power to appoint a judge, to a power to appoint a ZEC chairperson, there has the power to appoint. It cannot be a president from another party. So his choice, we cannot have a basis or we are not sure what credentials he looks at, but we are saying he's the president of the ruling party, so he has the power to appoint. And it's in the constitution of the...
I think the question was, is ZEC ready? It's a very cut and dry.
Honorable Gutu, let's leave ZEC to suffer its own consequences. Let ZEC say we have failed. Then you start questioning that particular element to say, you said you're ready, but now you failed. We're taking you to court. But to then take somebody to court before the introduction of the bond notes, you lose the case like Maim Juru. Let this continue.
I'm going to come to our audience now. If this is wrapping it up and not reiterating.
No, but I'm sure you should be heard. We have to be fair.
My point is this. We cannot allow a system to continue which is wrong and expect those running the system to come to us. This is why there's accountability. This is why we are talking about this, to test the system. Is it ready for elections? Is it not ready for? And at any time where there's a red flag, we shall intervene and say this is not proper. So we are encouraging everybody, young people, where there's anomaly, let's challenge it now, because the issue is this: you want to challenge things after a process where the court will question you. I'm not a lawyer, but I think Honorable Gutu can help me. The court will always say, when you saw this anomaly, what did you do about it? Why are you coming after? We shall not give anybody an opportunity or any system an opportunity to complain after elections. So we shall pick on any anomaly.
So let's leave the court to handle the issue.
Thank you. Let's come to our audience. We do have a live audience, as I said. I know there's you watching and we see your comments. We'll get to them in a moment. But I do want to give this opportunity to our floor to ask some questions pointed toward our panel this evening. So if you could just, with a show of hand, I know we'll bring you the microphone and you can go ahead and introduce yourself if you don't mind, and then go ahead with your question. There's one at the back there.
My name is Obert Gutu. I would like to ask Dr. Ushewokunze that
Yes.
When ZEC had a challenge in terms of the results being looked at as being legitimate, there were queries around it. I think if the process is not transparent and if the process is questioned from the start, it will obviously produce a result that becomes legitimate. Now, legitimacy of a result is very important for Zimbabwe, international standing, for financing and so forth. What is being done to ensure, I think there are queries around preparedness and so forth. Are we able to prevent ZEC from producing another legitimate result? And also, I would like to ask the other panelists that is this not a major concern for you? That for previous two elections, we've had the same problem with ZEC.
Thank you very much. I think there's a comment there that corroborates that one. It's from, I was trying to read it there on Facebook. It seems to have disappeared. I'll allow for one more question, then we can answer two questions at once. Please go ahead. There's a question there.
Okay, thank you. Themba Mliswa, National Spokesperson for the Youth Advocacy for Reform and Democracy. To Dr. Ushewokunze, like almost purchased what you said, you're talking about preparedness, but you still refer to the very few 400 biometric kits. You haven't spoken about the resources that will be used in terms of financing the people who operate these kits. It's now a nationwide thing. We've heard of $1 billion loan systems, $1 billion universities. In an economy with $4 billion as its budget, where would they have the money to finance the people who operate these things come from? Once, since you've said it starts now, are they going to be paid? How are they going to be recruited? How are they going to be trained? Are they going to get sufficient training? Because without that, failure to plan will lead to a failed election, and we cannot have yet another failed election. ZEC has failed to prove to us that it is impartial. It has failed to prove to us that it can be credible unless we change the commissioners. But then that's a story for another day. And then to the thing, to Honorable Obert Gutu, my question is that equally as the opposition, are you prepared now? It's going to be up to you to go into an election with ZEC. I'm sure you're going to go into that election with ZEC governing it. Are you prepared now to trust again? We've read things whereby you say ZEC is okay, then when elections go wrong, you tell what. We don't want to put in the that playground, circus approach. Are you prepared? If you're going to be prepared to work with ZEC, then you have to be engaged with ZEC if you've done anything in terms of that.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll stop at those two questions and I'll come to our panel now to answer them. I'll start with you, Dr. Ushewokunze.
If I heard correctly, it's the Reverend, correct?
Yes,
okay, all right. And my dear brother, yeah. You know, at times I say we are trying to deduce something from this particular discussion. At times we want to ask ourselves, introspect. The question is, when you say the past two elections have been illegitimate, we'll leave that for another day, like you said. But at this point, we are saying everything that's being done should be done collectively, should be done with a collective effort. What has happened before, ZEC, you mentioned that the MDC-T, at times the ZEC is doing well when they say something which is to their liking. The one time they say, no, ZEC should not be doing this because they say something which is not in line with what they're thinking. I'd want to believe at this stage, let's not focus too much on ZanuPF, MDC, YAD, and let's focus on being Zimbabweans. What is it that we want to achieve from this particular program? I'm comfortable with a citizen taking it upon themselves to even go to court to say, okay, fine, I don't feel that by this time we'll have achieved what we want to do. This issue of 400 kids, the three of us here, really, we have no knowledge exactly or statistics exactly of what's on the ground. What's being referred to, the 400 kids that are being referred to, we don't know what else ZEC has in plan or when the other kids are coming and whatever they have in store. So can we leave ZEC to do its job? Let's focus on what they should deliver as ZEC. And I don't want to think that with Zimbabwe we have no solutions to our problems, because I've noticed that every time there's an election, there's always this Babel talk about the wind blowing this direction, the sky turning red and stuff. Let's focus on what is it that we want to achieve. And there's bodies that are responsible. You should also focus on and say, okay, will we have enough security on these stations? Will we have this in place? You talked about funding. The funding, of course, we've had some batches of funding for this particular program. I cannot break down the figures as to what was really has been submitted or funded, including 17 million, yeah, from Treasury, and then this, I think there's Japan gave $1 million also, and other contributions. So we are saying that money, as it is 17 million, I'd want to believe the kits that they say they will be here, whether in the next month or whether in the next 2 weeks, 2 days. We are not sure whether the day after tomorrow those kits will arrive in this country and be set up.
I'm going to stop you there. There's a comment that's just come in, which I want to come to there. It's from Marcy Wilkes. If I can see the Facebook comment, please. That came in just now. It's a bit further down. That's from Marcy Wilkes. Janzi, why are we not being told who won the tender? Is it a secret?
How can it be a secret when it was in the newspapers?
Who won the tender?
Do you know who won the tender, or it's not a name that you...
Well, it's not a name that I can pronounce, but the tender was...
It's not a name that you can pronounce. Can you spell it?
No. I don't know who won, but I just know that the tender process was done.
No, like I said, there's a distinction between the supply of the PVR kits. There's a Chinese
It's a Chinese company. But I cannot make it
for the kits, but for the servers it's different.
I'm going to allow you to answer the questions from the...
Israeli.
Absolutely, yeah.
For the Israeli company, for the server.
Thank you very much. I'm sure Reverend Hussein had raised an issue, just to buttress his point, to say the legitimacy of an election is really, right from the outset, it has to be legitimate, the processes. An election is a process and not an event. It's like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So the moment that there are all these loose ends regarding this opaqueness, this lack of transparency and clarity regarding how many kits are there, or do we need... ZEC, a few months ago, said we need 2,500 kits, and we have 400 test kits. But now they are saying they are ready. We all know that. How can they say they are ready when they have 400 out of 2,500? State of unreadiness. And they also say we are ready simply after a proclamation by the president had been gazetted a few days ago. All along they've been saying, no, we are waiting for the other kits to arrive, because the other 400 kits that are there are test kits. And test kits will be used to train people who are going to operate the BVR system. Richard Makarau, or Justice, let me call it Justice Makarau, was very, very clear and unambiguous
Not in vain
on that one. Yeah, so all we are saying is, now all of a sudden, like a bolt from the blue, ZEC is through its chairperson, Justice Makarau, are now saying we are ready. Only a few weeks ago, Justice Makarau said we need a budget of US $274 million to run an election.
Have you bothered to check where they are right now in terms of...
No, I still have the floor. I'm just giving you the facts and figures, the nuts and bolts. This is what ZEC said. We need $274 million. Now we are told that Treasury has only released 17 million. You see the mismatch there. Hence this doubt that is in any reasonable person to say, is ZEC really ready? We don't want a situation where they are going to duck and dive. If they are not ready, they, as what Honorable Mliswa said, as a constitutional body which is independent, a Chapter 5 institution, they should have said, no, Mr. President, Your Excellency, we are not ready. Not to say simply because there has been a promulgation, we all of a sudden say we are ready. I think I've answered. Or Batters. No, I still have my young brother's, the youth chairperson.
Yes, question. You might not do a circus in the playground.
Yeah. Our position has been very consistent. As the MDC, we are saying we want elections that are free and fair. Because once elections are free and fair, they produce a result that is legitimate and that is beyond contestation. The moment that a result is beyond contestation, it means that all these challenges that we have in this country, going back to the time that the MDC was formed, they started participating in elections, June 2000. There have been serious issues, trust issues regarding how our elections have been run. Even before the advent of ZEC, there used to be what was called the ESC, the Electoral Supervisory Commission. There were these issues, 2000 elections, 2002 presidential elections, 2008 elections, 2013 elections. If you go back, it's a catalogue of complaints, and all of them are very well documented. Right now, we have got a presidential petition by President Changirai, which was filed in September 2002. That is still pending, 50 years downwards. So all I'm saying, these are issues that will then make people doubt the credibility of ZEC.
Sure.
But be that as it may, we are calling upon Zimbabweans, particularly young people like you, who constitute more than 63% of the population, to go out there and register. But our main fear is ZEC might not be ready because they only have 400 kids out of 2,500. Have they trained people? Who have they trained?
Sorry,
where have they trained them?
I want to just reword this question from my understanding of it and just ask a more specific question. If the MDC-T participates in the 2018 harmonized elections,
Yes.
under the current circumstances, without winning this court case or having every single of your electoral amendments adhered to, if you decide to participate and you campaign and your name is there and you're actually participating, if the outcome is not that you win, are you going to cry foul that you lost because the electoral process was not to your standards?
I think in your question, you also have your answer, Ruvheneko. To say, if the preparation are shambolic, and with respect, the preparations so far are beyond shambolic.
So then my question is not answered. My
Yeah,
question
no,
is
I'm coming there.
Should you not pull out completely?
No.
If the election date is
no, all we are saying is
and
the
you're not
people,
happy-
the people of Zimbabwe, Ruvheneko, have reposed in us, in the MDC. They have all the trust. They have reposed in us. They have suffered through decades of mismanagement, through decades of corruption, through decades of political repression. So all they are saying is they are looking at the
forget
MDC.
there was a GNU through those decades.
Yes,
Right.
but it was just respite. Many of them are actually saying, "Bakoma na makati basira ma GNU years." Now we are back to ground zero. So all we are saying is, as a responsible political party that is people-centered, what we are doing is to make sure that whatever people are saying concerns, we articulate them. This is exactly what we are saying. This is why we went to court. Not that we want to just say ZEC because we don't like them or we don't like this person or that person. No. It's just a question of saying we want things done properly. Because at the end of the day, once an election is free and fair, if we lose and we accept. But once you lose an election, that is neither free nor fair. Quite honestly, you will have every reason to challenge the result.
Thank you. We have time for 2 more questions from the audience before we wrap up.
I didn't speak.
Okay. The 2 questions weren't directed at you.
No, it's to the panelists. ZEC, through the Constitution, has a mandate to run a free, fair, and credible election. It's important that they are seen to be doing that. That's the reason why we're discussing this. And yes, credit must be given to them. They are trying to do as much as they can now and so forth, because people are now awake. There is an interest in the election, but there was apathy in terms of the vote because people did not believe in the credibility of ZEC. So the onus is up to ZEC to ensure that there is credibility in them and people get up and vote. This apathy actually starts from the political parties with their primary elections, where there's malpractices. Then they go to a general election, there's malpractices. So the issue as a legislator myself that worries me is Treasury must give ZEC the money that they're supposed to give so that ZEC is not compromised in the end. In the last election, we had telecoms companies paying in advance for their licenses. And to me, how then can you say that that's fair? So we don't want people coming in the last minute giving donations, okay, so that we have our elections. We stopped United Nations from coming in, which is good. We are a sovereign nation. Being a sovereign nation equally means that we must not accept any aid from anyone in running our elections. We have the resources, we have the money, and the government in control must ensure that resources are in place, and elections are critical in terms of the Treasury prioritizing. Because once elections are credible, then everything goes into line. An election which is not credible has severe repercussions. 270 million required by ZEC must be given, not in bits and pieces.
Sure. Let's come to our audience for our last 2 questions. Before we wrap up our program, please, if you could go ahead. You've got the microphone, you can go ahead.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Wenyamunga Lusutu, the spokesperson of the Student Command. My question is directed to Obert Gutu, the spokesperson of MDC-T. My question is, given you failed to win the court case that you brought before the courts, and then provided you won't win the election, under those kind of, you say the ZEC is not ready and things are not going well, but provided you won't win the election under those circumstances, whatever would do? Because there's something very critical about what's free, fair, and credible. Because the question is, the election is free, fair, and credible to who? You have won the election under the circumstances that you actually claim that they are not credible, free, and fair. Whatever.
Please go ahead.
Is there another question?
We can just go through yours now.
It's a very interesting question, my brother. All I'm saying is that's a very speculative question. And, I don't normally have an appetite for speculation, because let things be done correctly. It's important to say, look, if we are planning for an election, let us make sure that everything that is supposed to be done is done. So that we remove all this element of speculating to say, assuming you win in and free election, yes, there's that possibility, but why should we even budget for that kind of, I'll call it an anomalous situation? We should budget for things that are constitutionally valid, that are constitutionally sound, that are also politically correct, so that we set a precedent. We don't want a precedent of having a party that wins an election, and then an election that everyone says is neither free nor fair. Because once we do that, it doesn't augur well, like what my colleagues here have been saying, for the country, because we want the country to have political stability. And you cannot even attract both domestic and foreign direct investment if you are perceived to be an unstable country politically. I think you don't have to be a rocket scientist to agree with me that for you to be able to have an economy that is, that is moving, or an economy that is on the roll, political stability is an essential ingredient. So all we are saying is for us in the MDC, it's not just about attaining power. It's about having a Zimbabwe that is benchmarked on political legitimacy, constitutional legitimacy. We just don't want to say, okay, just because we are in power, even if we are in power through the wrong methods, we are okay with that. We are not power mongers. That's why we are a party that calls ourselves Movement for Democratic Change. There's a very good reason why there are those words, democratic change. You want to have a Zimbabwe that 2,000 years after our deaths, when we are no longer here, all of us, people will look back and say, this is exactly the Zimbabwe that we've always wanted. And not a Zimbabwe where people say, as long as I'm in power, whether I gain power unfairly, it doesn't matter as long as I gain power. That's not us. That's very uncharacteristic of us. Maybe in ZANU. They love power at whatever cost. That's not like us.
Thank you very much,
Okay,
Mr. Gutu. I'm going to now ask for our panelists to give us their last word as we wrap up the conversation. So, Dr. Ushewokunze, as you respond, please also be cognizant that this is also your closing, and then we move on, and then we wrap up the program.
Let me start with the what issue. Well, there would not be the formation of MDC if they didn't love power. And why would the MDC-T be from? It has been formed from 1999. It's over 18 years now. Even if you're writing all levels, you can only write 2-3 times. You fail and you continue. So I don't want to say much about that. Today's issue was purely on biometric. That's what I thought. I didn't think it was digging at each other's political parties and our credibility. But in any case, my closing remarks would be, well, thank you for having me on this panel, and I look forward to more and more constructive debates where we don't personalize issues, where we don't get taken over by emotion. We are still young. We need to have that sense of appreciation for constructive criticism and come up or do something which is for the betterment of the country and for the good of everybody.
Thank you.
Honorable Mliswa. I think what I would like is for us to reassure the young people demographically that over 60% in the country of a free, fair, and credible election. You know, I'm a coach, and one of the things that my players would say to me, and which I would teach to my players and impart, is that you must be able to win home and away. Don't say away, as long as the system is the same. And what I'm saying, His Excellency must hear what people are saying about what ZEC is doing. If there is issues of credibility, the system remains the same, you can change the people. Kenya has done that. I think they did complain about certain people or a commission which must not be in place, and it was changed. Because for as long as the system is there, you can change the people. So if people don't have confidence in the current commissioners, the president can change them to ensure and to bring in trust into the electorate, which is critical. The system remains the same. Unless the system is driven by people, then we have a problem. This is where the aspect of credibility comes in. My question is that, President, if people are not happy with the current ZEC members, why can't you change them if our system is good?
Thank you very much, Honorable Mliswa. Mr. Gutu.
My appeal really, firstly, is just to buttress what my colleagues here have been saying, appealing to the young people, particularly because demographically they constitute about 64.7%, just under 65% of the demographics of this country as per the last census, August 2012. They should come out in their numbers, in their millions, and register to vote, regardless of all these shenanigans that are there, because indeed they are shenanigans. And at the same time, I would like to appeal to ZEC to be woman enough and man enough to tell the nation the truth. They should come out very clearly and tell us, are they ready? How much time do they need? So that they will advise the powers that be. Even if it is the head of state who has promulgated something, and they know that the time that they've been given per the presidential proclamation is insufficient, they should be professional enough to stand up and say, Mr. President, thank you very much for the proclamation, but we need ABCD to be done. And not just to parrot that because it's coming from the head of state, from the first citizen. I think all those people there, I know them personally, Justice Makarau, Mr. Mugabe, the Dean of the Faculty of Law. I know them. They are honorable people. I have nothing against them personally. But we are just saying they should be at least professional enough to tell it as it is. And thirdly, and perhaps lastly, I think we as Zimbabweans should obviously have this culture of debating. And also, I should make me take this opportunity to call upon the so-called state-controlled media. I'm sure they may be listening in. You are streaming live, I know. To say, why don't similar debates happen at Zimbabwe television, at ZBC Radio 1, whatever they call themselves? Why do they deny us as opposition political parties space to be heard? We are saying to them, they are state-funded, they are a parastatal run by basically taxpayers' funds. Why should the ZBC parrot only the message of the ruling party? And I believe that this opportunity that you have given me, I should use it to appeal to them to say, ladies and gentlemen, comrades, search your conscience. Is this the Zimbabwe that we want? Thank you very much, and good evening.
Thank you. Very profound closing remarks there from our panel. I want to thank you for coming and being part of this inaugural debate. As I said, there will be many. And as I witnessed the official launch at the State House today, a number of pointers were raised. And I will reiterate the words said by Justice Makarau. She said that ZEC is financially ready. They have the resources and are ready. They have done the training and are ready. And to come to what was touched on by Dr. Ushewokunze, why don't we wait and see? It's difficult to assess, it's difficult to judge, it's difficult to comment. There's a process ongoing, there are cases in courts, and everybody should exercise their democratic right. So my issue then is to say, let us allow for us to be part of this process, question what we need to question, but above everything, when it comes down to it, please have your ID, your proof of residence, and please go and register to vote where you can and when the time comes, whenever that time is. There's so much else that we can discuss, and we're going to be discussing more. With the Election Resource Center, we're going to be going across the country. This is just one of many debates. This is almost an elite group of people. It does not fully represent Zimbabwe.
Next time, let's go to Mbare or Mapuku.
And we'll be there, and we'll be discussing. There's so much discussed around elections. There's the diaspora vote, which we know is not allowed right now, but there's the diasporans who still want to participate. There's some who are planning on buying tickets to come and register, then coming back again to vote. That's how passionate Zimbabweans are about their country, whether they're here or they're outside. The issue of proof of residence, let's see how it goes. We know that Minister Chombo waived the idea of paying for your ID document. So at least now you can get your ID without having to pay. So there are processes that are happening, and it's ongoing. And the other thing that we must note, which we picked up on today, is that the existing voters' roll, when it comes to the Constitution, Zimbabweans are not compelled to register to vote when there is an existing voters' roll. So what has happened is through presidential powers, this has been waived, and this has been basically now put into the through the Constitution. For BVR to happen legally, presidential powers have now basically dissolved the existing voters' roll for this process to begin. So there's so many processes that we need to understand, and that's what this conversation is about. Any questions you have, bring them here, take them wherever you need to, maybe even to the national broadcaster when they so happen to start these kind of dialogues. But for now, Tiripano. And this is what we've started, and we hope that you can be part of this journey. We look forward to being part of it with you. The target is 7 million registered voters. Think about that and think about those numbers. You are one of those 7 million. And if you're over the age of 18, you need to register to vote. Thank you to all our guests, and thank you to you, and thank you to our panel. I'm Ruvheneko, and that's it from me tonight. Be good, and if you can't be good, be safe.
Okay.
Where's the ice cream?
Why are there such naughty guests?
It was, even from